Helo a chroeso, welcome to this special edition of FC Cymru. My name is Gabriella Dukes and today we'll be wrapping up what has been an extraordinary year for Welsh football with a man at the helm of the FAW, of course, its CEO, Noel Mooney. Noel, thank you for joining us. It's great to have you with us.
Great to be here. I'm looking forward to discussing the great year we had and looking forward to 25 with you, Gabrielle.
Well, of course, we're going to look back at all the many highlights of 2024, celebrate the successes across all levels of the game, from grassroots to coach education to the domestic game, before looking ahead, of course, of what is going to be another incredible year next year. So I think we'll start then with our international sides. And as I mentioned, it's been an incredible year full of highs, historic moments, but also some lows as well. So let's take a look.
Hoi, mynd, Wilson, arbediad campus, ond dim digon da, a mae David Brooks, di'r hoi'r cychwyn perffaith. Wilson di gadael am gol, am geg cryf, gol sy'n heiddi cymryd unrhyw wlad i unrhyw bencampwriaeth. Williams yn ei chymryd i, môr yn cael ei bennu fe! Chesney ac arbediad campus. Môr greulon a mae'r freuddwyd ar ben. Croeso, reolwr newydd Cymru, Craig Bellamy.
When I took over this role, I wanted to reconnect myself with the country. This is my home, this is where I'm from, this was my calling, this was meant to be.
I'm really excited for this opportunity and to get going with this exciting new adventure with this great group of women. I'm very connected to my heritage here, and to be given this opportunity to lead this team that's right on the cusp of doing something pretty momentous is a huge honor.
So Noel, it's not very often that we see two new managers appointed for our international sides in the same year. So let's start then with Rhian Wilkinson. What was it about Rhian that made her stand out to the FAW?
Yeah, I suppose if you go back to the start, we'd come off a Nations League A campaign and Gemma Granger called in January to say that she was taking up the challenge of going to Norway, which obviously was disappointing at the time. But it turns out that fate had something else in store for Welsh football, which turned out to be fantastic, as we know now. We do what we do, you know, when we're looking for a manager, we scour the world, we look for the very best possible manager we could. And thankfully, our Chief Football Officer, Dave Adams, had built up a relationship with Rhian because she has a Welsh background, as we now know very well. And she was working with us on our technical advisory group, helping us with the development of football anyway, kind of part-time advising the FAW. So when the job came up, she put her hat into the ring for it. And having sat at the interview with Dave Adams, you know, when we saw her, we knew it had to be her. She was outstanding in the interview. She gave a vision for the national women's team that was exactly in line what we were looking for. And she's very authentic, Rhian. She's a great person, which is crucial. Around the FAW, if you're not a good person, it doesn't really work. You've got to be really passionate about what you do, and she clearly was that. And she has proved to be, you know, sensational for us. From day one, when she came in, she's lit the place up. She's been a breath of fresh air for Welsh football.
Yeah, and as you said there, she made an immediate impact, didn't she? And those scenes in Dublin will live long in the memory, won't they?
Yeah, I would say the last 8 minutes of injury time were absolutely excruciating, I would say. I've never known anything like it. It was just the whole stadium was willing Ireland to get the equaliser. Now, obviously, we're willing Wales to keep the ball out of the net. And there were some performances there that were extraordinary. I mean, if you look at the Raza, for example, coming into the side and just being outstanding. Josie Green got player of the match and so on. But it was just performances. Liv Clark, I thought, was incredibly cool in goals. Right throughout the side, Rian managed to get a tune out of a side that was fantastic. Ireland are a really good side. They've got players like, as we know, Katie McCabe, Denise O'Sullivan, really top players in the prime of their careers. We went to Dublin after, I would say, a scrappy enough game here in Cardiff. We went there with the belief that we could get out of there, and I think the game plan worked to perfection. You have to give Rian, John Gray, who she called out very much around this, and the whole backroom team huge credit, and the players, of course. The supporters were amazing. I think with 350 people in Dublin, they were louder than the 25,000 people that Ireland had. And I think everything just came together. And it wasn't just about a match or even a campaign. It was about stories right throughout the team. I mean, Jess Fishlock's an obvious one, someone who's got to the very top of world football, but now in the autumn, shall we say, of her career, getting to a major tournament, and the likes of Hannah Kane, who's had struggled with a lot of injuries over time. And right throughout the side, there's been players who've defied the odds. If you look back at the bigger picture recently in St. Fagans, we gave the players who we hadn't recognised previously with their caps. That was a very special night. We had been one of the federations in Europe that had stopped women's game being recognised for 50 years. So the story of the trailblazers and these new trailblazers that have got us qualified for a major tournament is quite an emotional thing for a lot of people here in Cymru.
It's definitely a special time for women's football here in Wales, and I certainly can't wait myself for Switzerland 2025, but we'll discuss what's ahead in 2025 later on in the show. But let's turn our attention then to the men's team. Craig Bellamy came in during the summer, so similarly to Rian, what was it about Craig that convinced you he was the man for the job?
Yeah, again, having met Craig during the process, he talked with such passion, with such intensity, and he was very modern and progressive in his thinking, using things like data, technical analysis. He understands Welsh football well, but he understands top-level football really well. Obviously, he's worked in the Premier League with Burnley, of course. He was quite close to getting the job, I believe, 6 years ago here at the FAW. He didn't get it on that occasion, but now was his time. I mean, it's the same as Rian. I think serendipity can play a big role here. It was the right time for him. It was the right time for the FAW. It was the right time for Wales. And he has been sensational, I think, for us. The style of, it hasn't just been even the change of manager, to be honest. It's the whole backroom team. It's the style of play is so different now. You know, we're dominating the ball. And I think everybody's been thrilled and delighted by the end of the season. We finished with 6 matches in Nations League. To qualify for Nations League A, beating Turkey to that place is beyond even our expectations. We're quite driven and ambitious here to be a great football federation, but even we would have said that promotion to A was a bit of a stretch. He has managed to achieve that with the team, and I think everybody here is just buzzing now. We're all looking forward to qualifying for the World Cup in America, Canada and Mexico. We feel really confident going into the campaign that we can do great things. And the same as the women's team, the men's team feel that everything's possible now, and the whole kind of road ahead of us is opened up now in a very confident and very positive way.
So Noel, one thing we've really noticed about Rian and Craig is, of course, how much they've really thrown themselves into connecting with the fans across the whole country. How important is that for the FAW?
Well, I think, as everyone knows, the FAW is much broader than just football, that we look at culture, music, fashion, all sorts of things to try to connect with Welsh society. We're really lucky because Rian and Craig really buy into that. It's fantastic, you know. So when we talk to them about going out to villages all across Cymru, they're delighted to go out to meet people. I think they get energy from it, to be honest, talking about what they're doing and getting to see who they're working for. They get to see what is this fight about, who are we fighting for here. So like when Ian Gwyn Hughes, working here at the FAW, arranges these meetings in all sorts of weird and wonderful places, I keep hearing great stories back. Craig going into technical detail for yonks about how he's setting up the team, probably a bit too much in some cases, but he's just so interested and so passionate about it that he could talk all night about what he's trying to do. And Rian, Craig is one thing because he grew up in Cymru. He feels super connected to it. But what we were really pleasantly surprised about is how Rian feels so close to Cymru. Obviously her mother's from here. She talks about it all the time, her mother, very passionate about Cymru. But Rian has taken on so many things. When she talks about Owen Glendower, for example, she talks about Taylor, she talks about all these things when she's preparing for matches. So she's really kind of connected with Welsh history and Welsh culture.
100%, and it's not just the senior teams that have had success this year, of course. The age group teams have also given us plenty to cheer about as well. What are your reflections on their progress this year?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. I mean, for example, when Matty Jones took over the under-21 team, it wasn't in a particularly great place. He's created an environment and a place that we can produce players for the national team. Plenty of players have gone from the 21s now to the scene. We see it more and more. With the 19s, Chris Gunter with the boys has done a terrific job. They've had some great results recently. And that's a great group, by the way, the one that Chris is bringing through. And then with Nia and Pete Wilson, that with the girls 19s and 17s, we've seen brilliant progress then made, the 19s being promoted to A, for example, with the girls. I keep looking at my phone and seeing great results and great performances coming through.
It's very exciting, isn't it, the future of football in Wales? Who knows what we can expect in the coming years for the international sides. But turn our attention then to the domestic game. The FAW launched the Cymru Premier strategy this year, a bold project to reinvigorate Welsh domestic football. So let's take a look at the highlights.
The JD Cymru Premier is changing. From the 2026-27 season, the JD Cymru Premier will increase from its current 12-team format to a 16-team competition.
For the first time ever, the FAW has almost drawn a battle line of what we're trying to do within our Cymru Premier. We've got to find our own position where we can put our product in the forefront of people's minds.
Redmond, mewn â hi at Ian eto. Fi chynnig I Gymro medden o. Ac am yr ugeinfed tro y tymor hwn. Ac am yr unfed tro ar 15. Pen campwyr uwch gynghrair Cymru ydy y seintiau newydd. Marshall, yr eilydd. A mae o wedi dangos parodrwydd a mae Sislevic di troi'r beder yn 5. 10 munud tan yr egwyl. Redmond yn chwilio. O! Becker! Franklin yn mynd amdani hi. Nawr ti'n disgyn I Williams! A mae Craig honna nôl ar y blaen. Mae'r chwiban yn cael ei chwerthu. A mae yna un tîm di heiddi ennill. A'r tîm hwnnw ydy Cei Conna. Llongyfarchiadau mawr iawn iddyn nhw. Tawen nôl ar y byd yma, legal yn ergydio! Dyna chi gol! Mone legal yn I dal i'n berffet! Y Siobhan Walsh, y bêl yn hongian I fyny, a dyna'r gol!
Y bas cyn bellad ag Emma Beinon yn mynd o bellter! Oedd yn deilwng o rownd derfynol, honna oedd I.
Owen. Owen ar gyd! I sgorio! Morgan Owen! Thomas yn rhyddhau. Zach Clark yn yr ail! Ond oedd I gyblu Montes Caernarfon! O, gwych! Ydy ni'n breuddwydio felly. Caernarfon 2, Crusaders 0.
Well, we heard in that video there exactly what the Cymru Premier strategy is all about. What are you excited most about the strategy and its potential for Welsh football?
Look, for me when I came in, we discussed this in Welsh football. The top division was not strong enough, it wasn't big enough, it wasn't bold enough. So what we did was we had to go and find the resources, and we found a big investment to put into the league, and then we had to put together a strategy for how we would get more interest, awareness, attendances and revenues, which any league requires. So we've got the plan in place, which was unanimously agreed by the clubs and by the FAW. We've started to hire full-time people in all of the clubs, CEOs and general managers, to get the professional structure of the club right. And each club would have their own strategy, of course. I think what's also important is that we're investing heavily in the facilities. So we've announced the £3 million investment in 2024 for facilities across North Wales, including the likes of Carnarvon, the likes of Denbigh, the likes of Colwyn Bay and others right across the north of the country, so that we can host a good under-19 tournament in 26, but also that we've got better facilities for fans to come to in the Cymru Premier Division. If we build it, we believe that they will come. And that's a big focus for us in the year or two ahead, especially as we get further in European competition. We need to make sure that we've got stadiums. I mean, TNS had to play in Shrewsbury, of course, in 2024. We'd like in the future that when they do go further in Europe, that they can play in their own stadium.
And of course, there's plenty of excitement this year in the Adran leagues as well. We've seen record attendance at the 2 domestic cup finals and 4 teams turning semi-professional. What are your reflections on the growth of the women's club football this year as well?
It's growing at a huge pace, and we know from talking to the clubs their ambitions are they're all fighting each other to do more and outdo each other, which is exactly where you want to be. So the ambitions of the club has to be matched by us as well. So we're putting together a strategy in 25 about the Adran League, because especially with the national team, of course, qualifying for the Euros, you know, with the investment that we're putting into the women's game, we need to make sure that our domestic league is reaching its full potential.
So moving on then to coach education, and in May, of course, the annual FAW Coaches Conference did take place. Brings everyone together, from famous ex-players to grassroots coaches looking to continue their development. So let's hear then from former French international Gael Clichy about what he enjoys most about the event.
I already recommend 2 friends of mine, 3 actually, simply because, like I said, you know, they're not pushing you towards something that you don't believe in, and this is so rich. You know, you gain so much from, you know, being with different people, different mentalities. That's a great place to learn and enjoy, and that's the case for me.
So Noel, the FAW's standing in coach education is of course something you're incredibly proud of, isn't it?
I mean, the FAW has a global reputation for coach education. I mean, some of the top players and coaches in the world. And I think we get the balance right between these global stars that come to Wales to become managers and to become coaches, but also using that shine to help our own domestic managers. So, for example, the pro licence at the minute has players like Gael Clichy, for example, Johan Cabaye, Nouri Sand, the Borussia Dortmund manager at the moment, is on our pro licence. But you've got people then from our domestic Cymru Premier Division who are working alongside them, and they're benefiting from their knowledge. That raises the standards domestically as well. Then at the grassroots level, because the game of football is growing so much across Cymru, we need more and more coaches. You know, with qualification for the Euro brings, you know, media attention, it brings more interest in girls playing football in schools and clubs and that. So we are seeing already a growth in female coaching, but we really need to invest heavily in that.
And this year also saw the launch of the FAW's grassroots strategy, Enhancing Lives Through Football. So can you explain why that particular title was chosen for that strategy?
Yeah, I mean, football is so much more than just a game between 11 and against 11. We saw, for example, this year at the McDonald's Grassroots Awards, it's not even enhancing lives, it's saving lives in some cases, to be brutally honest, because football means so much to so many people that it becomes, you know, something that's really good for mental health, physical health, of course, and just good for the soul. So, enhancing lives through football. We'd never had a grassroots strategy before, really. This is our first clear plan right through to 2030, which maps out how we're going to get a lot more people to play football, how we're going to keep them people playing football, and make their lives much better as a result.
And of course, this was covered, the strategy, in a recent FC Cymru episode. So you can go back on Red Wall Plus and watch this if you want to find out more information about this strategy. But of course, that episode in particular showed how Welsh football is powered by an army of volunteers. Is supporting those volunteers a key part of FAW's grassroots strategy? Yeah,
I mean, without that army of volunteers across every village and every city across Cymru, we wouldn't exist. So they give of their time, they give for their community, they give unselfishly to the people around them, and like, we admire them so much. We also have to give them support because they can't do it on their own. We need to make sure we've got digital tools, resources available to them so they can run their football clubs or run their leagues. We also need to make sure that we've got good volunteer recruitment and retention. And 2025 will see us invest heavily in getting more volunteers into football to work with their local clubs. We need more. We've got things like the Youth Council, for example, which has already, and Be Mentoring Programme, for example, which has already produced many new people in coming into football, particularly new girls getting involved in football and the administration of the game, which has been fantastic for us. But we've got lots of different programmes and lots of different resources that we'll unleash in 2025 that will get a lot more volunteers involved, and the ones that are involved give them much more support to be able to do their roles.
So Noel, we've looked back now at the highlights of 2024, but of course we have to look ahead to what's set to be an incredible year next year. There's one major event on the horizon, of course, the Women's Euros, our first tournament. What are the FAW's hopes and aspirations for the summer, both on and off the pitch?
Yeah, 2025 is going to be a special year for Welsh football again, and particularly the women's side now. You know, we're all eyes focused on Switzerland now for the summer. We've got to build on. We had a record 17,000 people here against Ireland for the first leg, of course. We need to build on that and get more people to come in the gates. And the opportunity now is there for people like yourself in the media to build a platform for these players. We want to see huge crowds for them games, and the people of Cymru to get behind these sides for sure. But also you've got the medium-term stuff, which is about facilities. We need to work closely with Welsh Government and local authorities to build dressing rooms, pitches, that all these girls that will be playing football now, that they can play in a safe and modern environment. That's really, really important, I would say, as well. Be Mentoring has been a big programme for us in terms of getting new leaders, female leaders at Welsh football. We've already had wild success. We've employed quite a lot of the people that have come through Be Mentoring. But we'd like to develop new programmes that make sure that we've got a much more diverse decision-making bodies, not just in the FAW, right throughout football in different leagues, area associations, clubs. So we need to make sure that we've got a long-term sustainable legacy from this tournament by having lots of programmes, having lots of opportunities for girls to get involved in football. And I think that will be the change that you'll see. You'll see a lot more girls involved at all different levels of Welsh football as a result of this tournament. I'm hoping that in years to come, we will say that 2025 really was a game changer for Welsh football.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed for that. And of course, there's also the small matter of a World Cup qualifier coming up for the men's team. Have you and Craig set any specific aims for those matches?
Yeah, to qualify. We think we've got a great chance of qualifying for USA, Canada and Mexico. It'll be a spectacular tournament. The players have seen what it's like now to play a World Cup. They want to go back now and to see it again and to do it even better this time. So the confidence is certainly sweeping through Craig, his backroom team and the players. I know from talking to the players, they're chomping at the bit now to get at these qualifiers. And I think, 2025, we finished 24, really, really strongly, I think, clearly. If we can continue that momentum into 25 and to deliver what we all believe that we can, and together stronger in 2025, this can be a spectacular year for Welsh football. We're just so happy that the Red Wall, all the people involved in Welsh football, the volunteers, all the clubs that benefit from our success, they've got so much to look forward in 25. We can't wait to get started at this thing. And it was nice going into Christmas with the glow of qualification for the Women's Euro, but with Nations League A for the women, with the qualifiers for the men now, coming up for the World Cup. There is so much to look forward to, and it's going to be a brilliant year, I'm sure, for Cymru and for Welsh football.
It is indeed. Well, Noel, it's been incredible to look back at 2024 with you, and of course 2025 looks set to be even bigger. So thank you so much. Diolch yn fawr iawn for joining us and for sharing your invaluable insights with us as well.
Diolch.
Well, of course, to you, our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in. And don't forget, there's plenty of Welsh football content here for you on Red Wolf Plus to enjoy as well. But from all of us here at the FAW, we wish you a very happy new year and we'll see you in 2025.